So with that, I am going to now take you guys to the panel discussion that we have set up here for you, which is an amazing topic of what to expect, change and approach to your young professional journey during these COVID times. So with that, I am going to introduce you our moderator, Balki Chandrasekhar, and he will take over the program and get the panel going. Balki?
Hey, thank you, Puneet. It's an amazing presentation. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this ISW Virtual Indian Day panel discussion session. So, today's topic of the discussion is what to expect and change and how to approach your professional journey during this COVID times. This is an interesting and most needed program at this point of time, and it will be moderated by our own Raghu from ISW. And I just wanted to quickly introduce Raghu before he can start the program. Raghu has been part of ISW for more than 14 years now, and he's one of the key members in our executive board for the last several years. So last few years, he has taken a lot of new initiatives in ISW to connect and help professionals through career seminars, and also he started publishing many articles through our ISW Youth Sandesh, a newsletter focus on the similar topics. I'm sure many of us kind of read those things. So, and also he's also on an advisory board for a couple of local startup biotech companies and serves as a mentor and on the board of nonprofit organization called STEMpeers with 16,000 members worldwide. So that helps the STEM professional in their career track. So in his professional life, he's currently working as a senior level executive in a biotech company, and also he's a co-inventor for the whole amplification, which is RPG currently marketed by Horizon. Also, he's presented over 350 seminars and workshops in the functional genomics at the national and international meetings at client sites in the past 15 years. So I'm happy to welcome him to moderate this great panel discussion. Welcome, Raghu. We're looking forward for a great panel discussion.
Thank you, Balki, for that wonderful, very long introduction. I appreciate it. Good evening and welcome again to the panel discussion. This is part of our Virtual India Day celebration of ISW. This is the last session, as you heard, for the 2020 celebration, and we hope to end it with a bang. I would like to thank Balki and Puneet, who is behind the scenes making all of this possible. On the panel today, we have some veteran experts from different fields. I've reached out to them to share their perspectives and offer any tips and suggestions for people who may be working on their career path during these tough times. Before I introduce them, each one of them, I would like to take a couple minutes to introduce ISW and then say a few words of my own to set the stage for this discussion. If that's okay, we'll start with this slide deck. I have a few slides that I'd like to share with you. Okay, so ISW is one of the oldest nonprofit organizations in the US, started by a few immigrants who came to the Worcester area in 1963. Since then, we have grown to over 500 members with many lifetime members. ISW carries out a number of activities throughout the year, catering to various demographics of the Indian community and involves the local town and county residents as well. Programs geared towards little kids, young adults, professional adults like this one, senior citizens, etc., are organized and run at regular intervals, all selflessly by voluntary professionals such as the people on this panel and organizers behind this. The center offers cultural and Indian language schools as well during the year, religious celebrations, so you don't miss home and the religious practices, and other professional seminars and sports events as well. This year, unfortunately, as you know, we have not been able to do that, so all the activities are virtual. So we look forward to the construction or expansion of the India Center as well, which will provide a lot more area and for us to get back onto on-site celebrations. So jumping into the session today, what are we seeing currently? The pandemic has consumed the media and almost everybody's lives and focus. If we were to look at the numbers, a whopping 40 million people have lost jobs and claimed benefits from the government as of the end of July. About 1.2 million people have claimed just last week, out of which 15,000 in Massachusetts. But the good part is, despite all of this, many companies are hiring across the industry. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and I've heard from a lot of people, and it is true. In fact, I have been one of those people who have been affected by the pandemic as well. So recently, a few weeks ago, I was furloughed from where I was due to the pandemic. And I was fortunate enough to interview, and I landed 3 different job offers, and I was fortunate enough to pick one and settle down. So there is hope for all of us. Be positive and make sure you're doing the right things. And that's what we are here today to discuss about, right? So what's next? The new normal is going to set in. We'll probably see more masks, more masked people, more hand sanitizers and social distancing. With the new normal coming in, there'll be need to be able to adapt to situations that we may not have seen before, and to learn new skills and trades. We may have to employ different approaches to reset our attitudes and strategies to maneuver through our professional journey. So the question is, what are you going to be doing differently? I'd like to just show you this little slide here, the picture of a bridge. It is the Choluteca River Bridge in Honduras. And this came around recently in the WhatsApp, it did the rounds. This was designed similar to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and built in 96 and completed in 98. Right after it was completed, Hurricane Mitch came in and devastated the whole area. And the area around it was gone. The roads that were connecting the bridges were gone. And what happened next was this. Right? So this was later the bridge to nowhere. The river was flowing outside the bridge. So the question is, we usually are trained to be strong and have strong fundamentals and basics, but are we trained to adapt to the situation, move on from there? So my message, or what I want to base this on, is to be able to change and adapt to the situation. So I'd like to, with this being said, I'd like to introduce the panel members. We have Chella Palniappan, who is the Vice President, Client Services at Triton Software. Sudhir Agarwal, Founder and President at RNA Sciences. Venkat Kalluri, CEO of Sidewalk.com. Kritika Vaidyanathan, Gene Therapy Scientist. And my co-host, Balki Chandrakasi. So to start with Balki is also the Assistant Secretary of ISW Executive Board. He's an IT professional with extensive background in program and project management, experience in financial, insurance, healthcare, and life science industry. He currently works at Charles River Lab, and he will jump in some of his observations as well. So Balki, do the honors, please, and can you start us off with the session, set the stage, take a couple minutes to talk about what you're seeing out there and what might be some of the general concerns that you think we need to be addressed at this panel discussion.
Oh, thank you, Raghu. Thank you for moderating this wonderful program. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So in last few months, things have been changed dramatically in both in personal and professional life, Now it's becoming like, both are inseparable. Like, we started working from home and working, everything happened like, at home right there. So a lot of things have changed. So I've been working in corporate America for the last 25 years, and no one has any clear answer for the situation, what we are dealing with, and including a lot of brilliant minds. So, but, we have to deal with this situation somehow. So I can see that, there are a lot of impact on, personal life, and more than that, professional life. So everyone is like kind of worried about, and but if you look at it, there are certain industries, like for example, retail and auto industries are really, impacted much, and there are a lot of people worried about the job and everything. And I'm more concerned about the young graduate. They are coming out of college and really, trying to, get a job, this year or next year or so. They are the people most impacted. So I'm just kind of expecting this panel to kind of discuss and address how people can take these challenges and approaches positively. And in my personal side, recently my daughter graduated, and then she got a kind of a job offer from one of the corporate, and unfortunately, due to the situation, her joining date was delayed for a couple of months. The interesting part was that this corporate, I never expected that, but last 2 months they've been keeping engaged. This all the young graduates, they are kind of about to join, keep them sending all the positive messages and keep them engaged. And definitely that's really a very motivating things that's happening. So I was very impressed with them. So the same way, I just expect this kind of positivity should come out of this panel discussion, so that everybody can feel confident and look forward for the bright future, no matter how bad the situation is. So I can see, like, I'm, even though I'm in like 25 years of so corporate America, but I'm only focused on only one area. So I'm expecting this panel to kind of take us through the different challenges in a different fields. That's what I'm looking forward to hear from this panel.
Thank you, Balki. That's a good place to start off with. Then we have Kritika Vaidyanathan. Kritika, welcome to the panel. She's a gene therapy scientist who until recently worked as a senior scientist developing gene therapy methods at a biotech company in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, she was also furloughed and is in the process of finding her next assignment. She has a PhD from University of Georgia, performed postdoctoral research for a few years, and has been working in the biotech company for close to 5 years. I know her from a different platform that was mentioned earlier, STEM Peers. She's a Philly resident. Thank you for joining us all the way from Philly. And I'd like for you to share some of your experiences from a job seeker's perspective, and what are you seeing out there?
Thank you, Raghu, for inviting me, and thanks everyone for being on the panel. So like Balki mentioned, I'm just going to say that this whole experience has been super positive and shown me different aspects of my networking connections and just humanity in general. As you mentioned, I was laid off on July 14th, so it's been, I guess, about 18 or so days. I did realize one thing: I'm not meant to be at home. I do need to work. But overall, I think I reached out to the platform you referred to, STEM Peers, and then I also reached out to my connections on LinkedIn. The response has been overwhelming in a good way. I'm very grateful for the contacts that I have, the speed with which people have been helping connect me to hiring managers. And I'm really happy to say that I've had several interviews last week, and right now it's a wait and see. I'm going to stay hopeful, and I've been very targeted in my search. I will add that. So I'm hoping to get feedback from some of you more senior people that have been in corporations for so long. You said the right strategy. Like I've done a couple different roles before. I've, in my limited experience, figured out things that I like, maybe things that I'm not really fond of. So I don't want to let something like a pandemic or whatever situation that might be to sort of change my trajectory and then have to work my way back. Is that the right mindset? I'm not sure, but so far everything is going good. And thanks to everyone who's watching this. Thanks to people who've reached out to me and offered to help. I had to reach out to you one-on-one. It's just been one of the most phenomenal experiences of my lifetime. I never thought I would say that about being laid off. Thank you.
Thank you, Kritika, for sharing your experiences. Then we have Chella Palniappan from the services industry. Chella, welcome. Chella is currently the Vice President of Client Services at Trident Software. He has over 24 years of IT services experience. He's also a Shrewsbury resident and actively participates in the community, including at ISW, and is the co-chair of the Parent Support Group and the Student Council in his child's school in Worcester. So what are you seeing in your service industry and the IT industry during these days?
Hi, thanks to everyone for having me here. It's a pleasure. Where I see my experiences are mostly with serving to mid-sized clients in the US. We have few of the large clients, but most of our clients are mid-sized. So across the industry, we see from healthcare to logistics to transportation to any other kind of a thing, high-tech industry also. But most of the times, our work is high-tech. So my experiences are mostly related to the high-tech industry, which is the software industry. What I think is it's been 5 months or 6 months now, right? So all the initial shock and reconfigurations already happened. Companies are started reconfiguring themselves to work ahead. The next 6 months is going to be how do they scale, how do they stabilize. I think in that wake, it'll be interesting to share another thing. But what I think is going to be a drastic difference in terms of expectations from both employees as well as employers. Employers' expectations have changed, employees' expectations have changed, right? Companies are extremely now planning ahead for what if scenarios than before, because this is taught them. This is nobody ever thought this once in a century event will happen. Now every single company is thinking about what if scenarios, right? They also are building to larger disruptions. They're seeking to different kind of technologies to automate. So I think that automation will be huge, and workforce also tend to be somewhat of a elastic in that sense. You're seeing Ubers and the other kind of things where the workforce, the taxi drivers are no longer the taxi drivers, right? There's unlimited people of taxi drivers for any company. And that is going to be the same case for the general employment also. The elasticity has been introduced, and how that elasticity expands and contracts is very interesting to see in the next 6 months. So I'm very glad to be here and hear from others who are very different perspective and vantage point of view from others, from the healthcare industry or from the entrepreneur world. Looking forward to hear from every one of you.
Perfect. Thank you, Chalavis. Nice terminology to hear, elasticity. I like that. Next, we have Sudhir Agarwal. Dr. Sudhir Agarwal is the founder and president of RNA Sciences, a drug discovery and development company. He's a pioneer in the field of antisense technology and an author for over 400 patents worldwide, a serial entrepreneur, and has co-founded multiple biotech and pharma companies during his tenure. He also serves as a scientific advisor on the boards of multiple biotech companies and is a visiting professor at UMass Med School. He's also a business advisor to the Harvard Initiative on RNA Medicine. Sudhir is also a local resident. Welcome to the panel, Sudhir. Very glad to have you here. Please share what you do, how you interact with the workforce, your quick impressions before we go on into further details, and introduce Venkat, our last panelist.
Thanks, Raghu. It's been a pleasure to be with you all. But my 3 decades have been associated with biotech industry. Started out as a scientist, and then we realized that the approach we were working on could have a potential for a new drug discovery platform. Based on that, we founded a company. And I think that journey has been of tremendous value to work with a company from different stages of developing drugs to clinical studies. I helped the company in various roles, but I think the best outcome was to meet the mentors, the collaborators, and the naysayers, and the people who work with you and not come on the same page because you're working with new scientific principles. But it's been a wonderful journey. Not only us, but the scientists from the various parts of the globe has joined in this journey. And I think the good news is that this platform has shown to work. In the last few years, we have seen few drugs approved on this basis. But the most exciting aspect is that what we had envisioned, that once we know the target of the gene, we would be able to create a drug. So an investigator at Children's Hospital has created a drug for a rare disease for a 6-year-old girl within a year, and the treatment was initiated. And so certainly what I'm seeing from the biotech side and the pharma side is there have been many more opportunities opened up, as you may be reading about COVID infection. Again, we are seeing vaccines getting into phase 3 studies in matter of months. As you all know, vaccines take years to develop. And so this has been all the foundation work done by many companies developing new technologies to reach to this stage. And as they are developing multiple vaccines, each company is now looking for additional talent to support these developments. Same thing you are hearing about new modalities for treatment of COVID, whether it's a direct effect on the virus or symptomatic treatments or repurposing the drugs. And so for all of those, talent is needed, supporting teams are needed. So as you say, certainly there is a shift, but there is maybe a recalibration of the talent. What was needed for other indications is now being requested to shift their focus and support the treatments for COVID. And so certainly it's been very active space. Not only the venture capital money is coming into it, foundational money is coming into it, and certainly government is investing, billions of dollars in discovery, clinical studies, manufacturing, and so in all aspects, talent is needed. It's just a matter of now connecting the right talent to the right employer.
Perfect. That's very positive to hear that there's active hiring and active involvement going on right now. I think except the tourism and hospitality industry, most of the industries are pretty busy right now. So moving on to our next panelist, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Venkat Kalluri. He's a good friend and a neighbor as well. He's the CEO and founder of Sidewalk.com, a premium mobile advertising and text messaging marketing company, something really fancy. Venkat is also a serial entrepreneur. He was the co-founder of Chitika Inc., the parent company of Sidewalk and Crosslink.org. Venkat is a longtime supporter, sponsor, and an active co-chair of akshaypatra.org, the world's largest nonprofit midday meal program, serving food every school day to over 1.8 million children in over 19,000 schools in India. He's also won several awards, including the ILC Immigrant Entrepreneur of the Year award a few years ago. As I said, he's a local resident. I'm honored to have Venkat on the panel today to share his perspective, offer some tips and suggestions. So what are you seeing out there in your part of the world, Venkat?
Thank you, Raghu. Thank you for Balki and Raghu. Thank you for putting together this wonderful program. Very timely, very relevant. And thanks for the wonderful introduction, Raghu. From the bio description, it's pretty obvious that I'm in the field of marketing. So yeah. my experiences in the world of marketing, advertising, we have taken a very interesting twists and turns during the past few months. And your analogy of that bridge and the river is so on the spot. Right? For us, it's not just that the river that shifted, and I think even for a lot of us, the river completely disappeared. Right? Suddenly, and it disappeared overnight. And we had to adapt. And we had to adapt, and we had to make a lot of changes and in our business model. I would like to share a few of those, not to highlight the fact that misery loves company or something like that, but to share some of the things that we have been through and explain what worked for us. And to show that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there are a lot of other good things that are coming out. We are all trained to, as entrepreneurs, we've been trained to say that you got to think outside the box, right? In this situation, the box disappeared. So the rules of the game changed. Now we were left overnight saying that, what can we expect and what can we not expect? That we had to close the office and the team had to go remote. And being an online company, we cater to running marketing campaigns for small businesses, local businesses. So you might be thinking that, hey, it's okay, it's all online. And you can as well continue to do your job online. You don't have to go to a biotech lab to do your work. You can continue to work from your house. Think again. Working from home is completely different because personal lives also changed. All of our team members, they went back homes with their respective kids also staying in the house and complete lockdown. So each family, each team member went through different twists and turns in their own personal lives. So it's not just a 9 to 5 job anymore for us working from home. It became a 24/7 a job for us. Some of them able to work in the morning, some of them able to work in the afternoons, some of them are able to work in the midnight. So we had to adapt. And then we said, you know what, that's fine. We will figure out a way in which we can all coordinate. Right? It's not as simple as picking up a phone and telling the team that these are the priorities for the day. Go ahead and do it. Phones are very disruptive and you can't call somebody at the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So we started quickly overnight learning the protocols that, you know what, let's use email for general purpose communication. Let's use GChat for something that is more synchronous, right? And let's use the texting for something that's very, very important and urgent. Some protocols have to be laid out. And then we said, let's all huddle once for 20 minutes online at noon every day. Just to kind of a moral support, saying, hey, we are all here. You're not alone in your basement. Now, at the same time, what happened was our customers disappeared. Look at all the small local businesses running on Main Street. There's no Main Street. Right? When there's no Main Street, where is the river, Raghu? The river is not next to the bridge. The river completely disappeared.
I hear you. Yeah.
Right? And then we were sitting there, all of us saying, okay, somehow or the other, we'll work through this. But where are the customers? So we had to adapt, and we had to adapt very fast. Right? We used to joke about the fact that change is the only constant, but we never expected a change in such a perfect storm from all directions. Our personal lives, our health scare, right? Teams going remote, work from home, customers have disappeared. So we had to take a step back, and then we said, what are we in this business for? Right? We questioned our fundamental premise. Like, we are in this business for helping businesses market and promote. What is marketing? Marketing is getting in touch with customers. Right? So what do we mean by customers? Like getting in touch? It's about making connections. It's about communication. And once we stuck to this general level of communication, we said, hey, wait a minute. We have an opportunity to bring to market online communication services that will help businesses to continue to do what they are doing to the best of their ability, even while during these tough times. Right?
Amazing.
So the box disappeared, but suddenly we came out of the trenches and we said, hey, this is a communication opportunity. And within I think 10 days, we came out with an online chat messaging service. And we started sending out messages to all of our customers. They say, eat your own dog food, right? And then we started using our own tools and services to get in touch with our customers, telling them that, hey, look, we are here, and this is what's working for us, and how can we help you? And we have a service that you can use. Right? And then they started getting back to us saying, hey, we are here. We didn't disappear. We are trying to figure out what to do. So we started
learning curve on both sides. Yeah.
Right? It's at both sides. And we started telling them that, hey, this is what's working for us. We started putting out knowledge guides, cheat sheets, tip sheets, tips, tricks, new services. We started offering services for free.
Amazing.
So the more we became aggressive in going out towards our customers, they started reaching back to us, and tides slowly started shifting. So there is an opportunity for us to take advantage of new modalities that are coming into the picture and see what we can do with that. But the same thing goes in job hunting as well.
Perfect. Right? So Venkat, this is an amazing account of how you as a business, how you as an organization adapted to the changing situations. Before I ask the other people what they see change significantly, what are the significant changes they saw in their field, I want to ask you a quick question. Along the same lines, how did the employees adapt? Your employees, not your customers, but your employees and people who are trying to, apply and join you and come into the equation. So can you give a quick 30-second on that before we ask other people?
Absolutely. For our current employees or our team members, what turned out to be the biggest asset is flexibility. Right? They were very, 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 very flexible. They said, you know what, within these constraints, this is what we can do. And each and every team member came forward saying that I am able to do the following things, and here are the areas where it might be difficult for me. But within these constraints, I'm very, very flexible. Catch me on email, catch me on GChat, call me, text me, doesn't matter. Let's get the ball rolling, right? The same thing applied to people who are applying to us too, as well. You'll be surprised, Raghu. People from Bangladesh, people from Brazil, right? Suddenly we started noticing inbound requests coming from experts from across the world saying, hey, I'm a freelancer out here. How can I help your company? What can I do? That opened up our window saying, hey, there are resources outside too, which we haven't really explored before.
Yeah, yeah. So Chella, jumping to the IT side of things, from your perspective, service sector has been the one that has been hit the most. What are you seeing there? And what are some of the positive impacts you've seen come about? You're muted, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. So when we say services, I think I just want to clarify, right? So our services are typically high-tech services, consulting services, rather than traditional across-the-counter kind of a services. I think there's a lot of across-the-counter services that has just been so badly disrupted now. Luckily for us, technology is a great answer for a pandemic. Everybody in a pandemic in a difficult situation, when they're trying to reduce risks, they want something reliable, trustable, and what better than the technology? They always look at technology as a solution for any crisis, right? So crisis always is driven by technology. That apart, I think the software industry largely are not that impacted in terms of work culture itself. There's been a very high work culture, working from home, remote working culture, and everything else has already been there. So the culture shock is much less in the high tech industry. I think it's also adoption of any kind of a collaborative tools that enables them to remote working and digital collaboration has been quite widely popular among the technology companies. So they're easily able to quickly run that. The positive aspects as I see in moving forward in the industry are some of those things, right? Like one, companies are starting to focus more on employees now. I mean, of course, everybody, companies always looked at employees, but irrespective of that, essentially, things like worker safety, things like healthcare, they're paying more for healthcare. I think in the longer run, they would be probably more adaptable to. There is going to be, let me back up. There's a lot of cost savings to the tech services industry or the companies also. I think companies are realizing now, okay, hey, gone are the days when I have to have freshly squeezed orange juices in the office for every single employee, or barista great coffees for every single employee. How do I transfer that money to another meaningful way to keep my employees happy, right? And what best to them to kind of guarantee them, we give you a better health coverages or assurances and things like that. So that is likely to increase. Next is what will be the remote job obviously is a great boon for us. As just as Venkat said, today you don't have to be restricted to, okay, first of all, most companies are accepting to remote working. So by that nature, you can apply to any company on the West Coast or across the globe anywhere. It's not going to be, you're not limited to your own location or something like that. People will have better work-life balances. Companies are also, by the same token, they're going to realize that, okay, employees, even though they're working from home, how do I give them a better, either a paid sick leave or better anything else, comp ops, better health, as well as work-life balances will improve.
Definitely. That's a definite benefit.
Yeah,
working remote, and the world is opening up for everybody to. You're no longer restricted to your geographic restrictions. You can apply anywhere.
And companies are always going to be now also focusing on how do we reskill our employees for next tomorrow, right? Whether newer technologies or anything else. I think they would spend more time and energy in reskilling their employees than out going and hiring, because they know that this is better for them in the long run. Those are the big positive things that I see in the employee-employer situation.
Perfect. Thank you, Chella. I think that was a very good transition to my next question, which I'll address to Sudhir. Reskilling and stuff like that. So we see a lot of these students coming out or scientists coming out, and they are focused in their own path. For example, a person who graduates with a molecular or cell biology degree, they want to apply for jobs now. And they don't essentially have to apply for the same job, right? So they might have other unconventional avenues to pursue. So what are you seeing there, Sudhir, in biotech pharma? What are some of the things that they can think through as an approach, as a strategy to widen their opportunities? And how can they reskill themselves?
Sure. I'll answer in two ways. One, my own experiences when I recruited people from universities after fresh PhDs, they came with what they really wanted to do, which is get a job and start doing the work, which is extension of what they were doing before. But now they're working in industry rather than in the academic. But soon you realize that their passion is something different. And then you start to mold them to say, okay, this is your passion, so work towards that. So work with the teams internally, and that may be your future goals, where you want to be. And I'm very glad to see that many of them are now in different professions. They are all PhDs in sciences, but they are following different professions. So let's take example of a person who has a PhD in molecular biology. Is only thinking about molecular biology and a desk job, bench job in a lab. But biotech or pharma is not only the lab jobs. There are many, many other disciplines. And so they have to start thinking about, first is to broaden their scope, to say they have this background. What is their passion? Do they want to be in the lab or they want to be outside the lab? And that, when they start thinking that way, outside the box, then now you have many options open up. So if they are in the lab, then they can start thinking about with which technology, which drug discovery approach, which are the companies working in that space. But they also can then further fine tune their thinking to say, they have the background, but which disease areas interest them most? And what are the companies working in those areas? And so then they can start then creating a bucket list to say, okay, these are the companies, these are the areas, these are the diseases I'm interested in. And then start approaching them to say, this is their background. And this is why they are interested in their company and their approach. If they don't want to be in the lab, then there are many other avenues, which is project management in the companies. They could be also, if they are very good writing skills, communication skills, they could go into communication and writing. If they have a skills beyond, in business development, they could go to talk to the bankers and being an analyst. In that case, they can become associate for analyst for a year or two, and then follow that career path as well. If they're very good in writing skills and analytical skills, they can start thinking about becoming a patent attorney, patent agent. And so there are many opportunities which exist, and they all need to be explored. So really, it depends on a person to person to really sit down and say, what is really my passion? And beyond, expand the scope beyond and pursue those goals. And certainly that's good for the company and that's good for the employee as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Sudhir. That was some good insight into how one should approach and see how they can diversify, basically adapt, like the theme of our panel today, adapt and see which would be a better way to go. During the process, they might also have to pick up on some skill sets during this period. So when you're laid off, when you are at home preparing to apply for a job, I would say look up for certain certification courses which match your area of expertise and try to step out a little bit. For example, a person doing biology who wants to go into programming or data analysis or even help out in businesses like Venkat is doing, you can just do a R Python language course or something, learn how to do that and see if there's something that you can specialize probably in the other sector, right? So do you think this makes sense in a job seeker perspective, Kritika? I'd like for you to speak up for a couple of minutes. What do you think? As employers, as people in the field, they can say you have to do this. So what are your thoughts on how easy is it to adapt and do it?
Absolutely. Some of the points that Sudhir and you brought up, really struck home with me, just because he used the molecular biology approach. I'm not a molecular biologist by training, but I somehow became one. Everywhere I went, I was the only one doing it. And I did think for a while that maybe I can translate that into project management. So I did a few years of that in a CRO, so in a biotech background. And I realized, this is a process of elimination. It's nothing negative, but for me, I personally try to do different things to see, what else, because I wasn't able to crack into the bench roles, which I would say that that's what I'm truly passionate about. And I want to stay sort of related to R&D in some way, and hopefully in going into leadership. But I did do some of the things that Raghu mentioned. So done project management classes. It was good. I'd done it for a few years, so it was easy, but, I wasn't sure if that's something I wanted to do all the time. Similarly with, trying to understand, more of the statistics and data analysis. I have done those, and I recommend it to people that enjoy that kind of thinking. Mine, I think, is, slightly different. And, I enjoy reading papers more. I enjoy asking big picture questions. I did focus in on diseases like Sudhir mentioned, that's how I've been trying in my job search, find people and companies where I think our passions might be similar. So we actually have good talking points and hopefully success in the long term for both parties involved. So I do recommend people that are unemployed to, take a look at Coursera or, Udemy. There's quite a few of those out there. And definitely speak to people who've had more than one job path. I think that's really helpful to see if people have made a switch and to see if they switch back, because that's what I did.
Perfect,
so I think
perfect.
It's very useful. Thank you.
Thanks. So Venkat, if you want to jump in here, some of the unconventional routes that one might take in what you're seeing in your area.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kritika, you made a very interesting point, saying that online education is a process of elimination. You used it in the right way. You used it in a way where you're exploring what would be interesting to you. You use this time and opportunity to say, I'm going to explore new paths, new avenues. But unfortunately, on a large side, on the other side, I'm not seeing people coming in with your perspective on. They're coming in with a very disturbing trend, right? I'm seeing a very disturbing trend, and that is, Raghu, there are so many online courses, so many things that are available, and people are mistaking this for instant gratification. They're saying, I've done a PMP certified thing. Now I'm entitled for a PMP project manager position. Right?
Yeah.
Now they're forgetting the fact that learning is a lifelong process. It's not something that you say, I've got 3 months and I'm going to do this, and after 3 months, magic is going to happen. Right? Very, 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 very scary part. In fact, I have two examples, one positive and one negative. Right? There was this gentleman who reached out to me from Brazil and said, you know what, I'm a very good CSS developer. I learned new techniques for web coding, and I would like to take up some opportunities, right? And as a company, we might not be acting immediately, but we are listening, right? We are listening for opportunities. So I wanted to test this person out, and I said, hey, here's a small web-related project. Would you like to take a shot at this for a week or two? And then we'll get the conversation started. And then Pat comes a reply saying, no, but that's not related to the course that I did. If you have a project that is related to the course that I just did, I would be more interested.
Okay.
That is very, very shocking, right? I mean, as a job seeker, as an opportunist, opportunity seeker, whether you're an independent entrepreneur or a business owner or an employee is looking for jobs, you have to put on your cap saying, I have to solve somebody's problem, right? And I hope that my certifications and my techniques and the tools that I've learned will help me. But you can't go around with a hammer in your hand saying, give me a nail and I'm going to just beat it in. That's all I'm going to do. That's very disturbing. Within the same week, there was another gentleman who reached out to me from Bangladesh. And proactively, he said, Venkat, here are the 6 things that are wrong on your website. And
got your attention there.
quick short for you. And I'm like, you know what? Goodbye, Brazil. Here's Bangladesh. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Figuratively, somebody who's coming forward saying, I'm going to solve your problem. And by the way, my certifications, my education will be helpful for it is good.
Yeah.
But if you flip it around and you put the cart before the horse, it's very dangerous. So when Kritika was talking about, I'm using this to explore what's right for me, that is music to my ears. That's the right way to approach this market.
Perfect. That's a good lesson for all the viewers, their audience out there. Use these resources available to test yourself, see what works, what doesn't work. Try to be in maybe a multi-dimensional person where you can connect 2 different fields, and you'd be even more valuable than being an expert in one area. So that would be a good way to look at it. And like Venkat was saying, approach each of the job description lines as a problem the company is facing. Right? If they have a job description that says we are looking for somebody who can do X, Y, and Z, that means they don't have somebody who can do X, Y, and Z. So that is a problem they have. So if you can be the problem solver, approach it in a problem solver kind of an attitude, you'd be the better candidate. You can say that in your cover letter, if you will, when you're applying. Right? So that's amazing. So we have another 7 or 8 minutes. I wanted to maybe toss out this question and anybody can jump in. So how can people get back on track? People who are derailed now, say some of them are derailed, a lot of them are getting jobs. I know there's a positive, I want to put a positive spin on it. Jobs are being offered on a daily basis. I'm going to be starting a new job tomorrow, in fact. So how do people reset their attitude, mindset? What are some of the silver linings that you can bring out to the job seekers out there? Anybody jump in?
Hey, Raghu, before I go, one quick question back to Venkat, right? I mean,
Go ahead.
can I ask? So Venkat was just mentioning about, skill matching and all those people, like, in a real situation, like, where there is no, crisis situation, people, whatever you said, okay, you train on certain skills and then get, apply for it. That's all works fine. So what would you suggest for people, for example, like, especially in this pandemic situation, right? Now I need to get a job. No matter what, in next 2 months, I've been out of job for 3 months. I need to get a job. So right now, with my skill set, I'm not going to get this job I'm looking for, but I'm kind of, trying to get whatever available. In that situation, I have seen a lot of people coming into that kind of a thing. Okay, let me take, so I say a business analyst role. I'll take the business analyst role rather than be a developer, who's his primary skill. So in that case, what would you tell for those people, right? In this case, they are very desperate, right? How do they can handle that situation? That's very important.
Very good question. Yeah.
Very good question. And in a way, it relates to what Raghu was also asking about, was pointing out. What do we do? Is the question on the table, right? Given the circumstances. And one of the first things that we need to start thinking about is stop worrying about what's gone, right? So business is no longer business as usual. The world changed, right? Some of the old things that we are used to are gone. Right? First and foremost, let's stop worrying about that. Let's start. The moment you stop worrying about what disappeared, you'll be giving yourself the opportunity to look around and say what else is available right now. Right? Now, companies are there. They might not be aggressively recruiting and hiring right now, but they're all watching. Right? Everybody's watching. Right? As a company owner and a potential recruiter, right? For employees, I am constantly on the lookout for who's out there and what are they up to. Right? And you need to be a hustler. You got to hustle. Right? You got to be out there, especially in times like this. Gone are the days where you can reach out to somebody and then say, hey, I want to network. Let's go and have some coffee. There's no coffee. Nobody wants to come out with you to Starbucks to have a coffee at the current times. Hopefully it's going to change in the future, but not now, right? So you need to start looking at yourself as, first, let the world know that I exist. How will you let the world know that you exist? One of the best starting points for people is LinkedIn page, right? But LinkedIn is not your resume in the old style. Your resume and your CV was a static snapshot. On LinkedIn, we are all looking for what are they up to right now, right? Yes, like what sort of articles are you commenting on? Are you putting forward your expertise and skills? Are you reaching out to people, and then are you out there making connections? Your LinkedIn is a dynamic resume, right? It's constantly changing. It's constantly being updated. I'm more interested in what you did in the last 1 week than what you did in the last 6 years. And right now, if I'm looking for somebody, right, as an organization, we want to know what are you up to. Right? Put your courses that you're doing out there, and then start commenting on those. Start talking about, if I am the product manager for Xbox, this is what I would like to, following changes that I would like to make, as a thought leader article. Right? That's okay. You might not get the product manager job for Xbox, but there are another 1,000 organizations out there looking for dynamic product managers. Right?
Very good example.
Directly to your question, if you want to be a developer, but you got an opportunity for a business analyst, it's okay. If you can use part of your skills to solve the business analytical problem, once you get your foot into the door, you can start building tools, web dev tools for business analytics. Right? You can expand into it. Be out there and then start giving more than asking. Don't go to people and then say, hey, help me. Right? Just blind help me will not work. Go to them and say, hey, I've got the following 4 or 5 skill sets. Is there any problem that you would like me to solve? It changes the conversation.
Yeah, makes sense. So is there any stigma in people saying I got furloughed or laid off? And in the situation, would you look at that as a bad thing? I think it doesn't matter at this point. Everybody is aware of what's happening.
Not today.
Is it, yeah. Is it something bad if you take a lower paid job, or say, I just went and pumped gas for 2 weeks, right? I'm a hustler, I did it. So will it look bad on the resume?
Not
What
today.
are your thoughts?
Not today. I think today people want to see that you've been active. You don't want to be out of job at all. You want to be doing something, anything. You could take up contract position. You can take other kind of a different kind of position, or you can do like community services or teaching or whatever. Don't hold out for this dream job that is going to come down, right? I mean, IT industry is different, and software industry is like, no, it's not shrinking that much. There are still a lot of jobs. But I would recommend anybody, don't hold out too long. Be active, take anything, be a hustler, right? And one of the things, like, we talk about this pandemic being a reboot, right? So the reboot is a time to kind of reinvent yourself. So if it happened to you, take this opportunity to reinvent, take this opportunity to do something different. If it is not possible, like, do something, anything, but don't be holding out too long. That, I think, in a hiring manager's light, that kind of indicates that you're being inactive. That's not a good thing.
Perfect. So their comments?
Just to add what Chela said, I think it's unfortunate situation we are all in. But the key is to really assess yourself to see what talent you have, what experience you have gained, and how that talent can be then applicable to someone else. Because for them, you are an opportunity. You became available, because otherwise you were not available, you were working for someone else. And so certainly in biotech and pharma, there's a lot going on because of the COVID. But at the same time, with the social media, it's important for the new candidates to start studying each company, who they are, what they're publishing, how they're publishing, who are the people, and follow their track record, learn about the company, and then start engaging them. What is your experience, what you have been able to accomplish, and how your experience would be helpful to them, even though they are not seeking the opportunity yet, but they are engaging in discussion. And so the company would say, well, this person is very intriguing because he's studying a lot about what we do, and maybe it's worth having a conversation. And in biotech, the way to keep on thinking about it is not individual work, it's a teamwork. So when we say this company is working on vaccine for COVID, we think about the company working on vaccine, but there are hundreds and thousands of people behind it. And so always present yourself as a team player, that you're going to contribute to this effort, which is a company's mission.
Very good.
Those are some
I wanted,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I said I was just going to add one word, repurposing, right? That's what I've been trying to do. I mentioned before about my project management experience. I don't necessarily want to be a project manager, but like Sudhir mentioned, I saw a couple of companies where they're starting out, with new gene therapy programs or gene therapy platforms. So the way that I've been trying to write cover letters or talk on the phone with hiring managers is to say, hey, you have this pipeline, it hasn't been set up. I have some experience in setting up pipelines as, someone who's supported multiple programs, but I also have all the bench experience that you would need. And it's been a good talking point. And to Raghu's original point, personally for me, and I hope many of you out there who are still looking, the way I've looked at this whole situation is that it's given me a lot of time to actually delve deep and, to Sudhir's point, read about companies, look at publications. This is specific to biotech, but take from it what you will other industries. Look at their LinkedIn profiles, find people. Like I've reached out to Raghu about so many companies and so many individual hiring managers. It's huge, right? I mean, someone knows someone else and they give you some of that feedback. And it's such a great, interesting point to talk about rather than say, hey, I'm Kritika, I went to University of Georgia. Those are all okay. I mean, they're on your resume, but to find that point to connect on, oh, this is your interest. I'm really interested in congenital disorders of glycosylation, and I see you published on that. I think that's such a huge talking point. But I'll also add, in the past, this is my first time. I've never lost a job before, at least not one that I didn't resign from. But what I've realized is when I have a job and I'm looking for a job, I was working full time. I was obviously passionate about what I was doing, but I was looking to move up in my career. But now, my full-time job and my part-time job are both looking for jobs. So this has opened up avenues that I never had before. The type of interaction I have with people not hiring managers, just people in different companies, is extraordinary. So this is something that, I tell myself and other, especially younger people out there, this is the new networking, right? I mean, before I only met people at conferences. I met people maybe at a party or India Day celebration or something like this. But now you just have to be comfortable with meeting them online. Many people have not accepted any of my requests or said, I don't have time, and that's okay. I mean, they probably really don't have time. It's not personal. But on the flip side, when people reach out to me, I've also told them in the last 3 weeks, hey, I'll be happy to answer some of your questions, but expect a delay because I'm looking for new jobs as well. So it's sort of a community. We just need to be empathetic to each other and make sure that success of everyone is the success of the whole community.
So great points and tips there, Kritika. And I'd like to emphasize the point that networking is the thing to be doing right now. When you have any downtime, network. It doesn't have to be, hey, I saw a job opening in your company. Can you help me? That is not networking. That is imposing on someone, right? Connect with people, talk to them about, it doesn't have to be about job, learn about their experience, learn about their skill. What kind of skill can I learn? Communicate and make that connection. That is the best way to network and connect. Before we go, I'd like to bring out one last topic, which are on a lot of people's mind, job seekers' mind, who are not citizens or green card holders. That is a visa situation. So that is a twofer. First of all, they've lost their job. Second of all, they're in a visa situation. From my perspective, I'm looking at Sudhir and Venkat as maybe active hiring managers. What do you see, and what are some of the things that people in that situation should keep in mind while approaching a job search? Should they come up front and tell them, hey, I need visa, and complicate the whole process, or wait for the interview to be done and bring that up when it is needed? What are some of your thoughts? I'll maybe give you like a minute each.
Oh, I can go.
Go ahead, Venkat.
So one of the things is, in all of this chaos that's going on, right? The visa rules and regulations are changing. The political turbulence going on left and right, right? The best advice is stay calm and carry on. The world has become flat, right? There is literally, you just like how companies are able to expand their horizons across different countries. You can also start looking into opportunities everywhere, right? and then follows all the other bureaucratic tape, visas and permits and all of those. Don't get boggled down by that. Don't get overwhelmed by that. First try to reach out to people anywhere in the world. You could probably reach out to somebody in New Zealand, right? Or you can reach out to somebody right here in Boston, right? Focus more on what is the value that you're going to add to that to the organization, how you can become a key contributor to that. Keep your thought process, your efforts, your energy, your passion directed towards that. And then these will follow. Good things will happen, right?
Perfect.
Just go out there and go for it. If you start getting bogged down by these permits are not going to work, those permits are not going to work, you know what? Whatever you're worried about right now is going to change in a week, and there might be a different problem that's going to come up. So you're going to move from problem to problem to problem, worrying about it. Forget it. Just focus on getting the opportunities that you want, and then good things will happen.
That's a positive way of looking at things, definitely. Sudhir, your thoughts?
Just to add that, we had hired many people, but the talent and the need was the first. Visa situation, what is the status, and all of that came at the end. And if the company was interested, the company is pursued whatever was needed to make sure that the candidate remains to continue to work with the company.
Very good.
Hey, Raghu, one thing directly to in a very direct answer is like, such visa related things. Most candidates can directly talk to the hiring managers or the talent acquisition people. They're much more aware of the situation. They can tell you and guide you on how it can be done and things like that. So you don't have to hesitate. But I think the conversation should be directly with the hiring manager or the talent acquisition people rather than the function or the business side of things. So.
Perfect. That's a very helpful suggestion, Chala. I appreciate that. So before we, as a last part, as a parting one-liner, two-line feedback or motivational speech, what would you say for people looking for jobs, looking to change their fields, or anything that you think as a motivational line? Let's start from Sudhir on the left top on the panel. Go down the panel.
Well, with the
closing
thank
remarks
you for organizing it, and also Balki. Wonderful discussion. I'm glad to be part of it. Only thing I can say is COVID has created certainly disturbances around the globe, but it also has given now opportunity to focus on science, and so much resources and financial resources and human resources are going towards that. So if anyone is interested in pursuing a career in biotech and pharma, this is the time.
Thank you. Chala?
Yeah, so one thing I would say is that, I mean, if you're asking about typical job seekers or somebody, I would say be very confident. You have survived the worst thing that it can happen, happen in the 100 years. 5 months you have survived through this. Every single day will only make you stronger passing through this. Be confident. We can do anything. I think that people, and there is the other one thing that I would definitely say is that my prediction or my outlook is that at least in the high tech industry, the hiring is going to start, right? Meaning it has seen very slowness, but the slowness is not because there wasn't enough job. That is mostly because companies are trying to recalibrate. How do we do remote onboarding? How do we do other remote training and bringing them, all those things. So they paused some time to kind of reconfigure all those things and figure it out. I think this time, 5 months, they figured it out. So I think there'll be a lot more opportunities. So my only say would be confident, best yet to come.
Perfect. Thank you. Balki, do you want to say something as some advice?
Yeah, I mean, thanks again, Raghu, for everything. And the biggest, the COVID-19 situation, right? One of the biggest positive thing I ever, start thinking is, right, now this is the only time, the opportunity, just sitting from home, you can work anywhere in the world. Previously, you've been thinking about, okay, I want to work in Californian company or some company in Germany. It's not possible. It's kind of, a lot of, hassles go through. But now all the companies are looking in a different direction. You can sit anywhere and work from. So that is one of the biggest advantage of this situation. And I think everyone has to take advantage of this and be positive, and now there are opportunities worldwide rather than in a single location.
Well put. Well put. Amazing. So now the world is in your hands. You
Exactly.
take the reins and go with it. Kritika?
I say be kind to yourself, perseverance, resilience, and hope. Those are good qualities to have always, but take care of yourself, and jobs are out there. It's just a matter of time.
Perfect. Wonderful message. And lastly, Venkat.
Well, in times like this, right, panicking and doing nothing is not an option, right? Be out there, let the whole world know that you're looking out, be active, let your voice be heard, because companies might not be aggressively recruiting right now, but they are looking out, they are watching. They're checking the LinkedIn profiles, they're checking who's out there, who's available, they're reaching out, and good things are around the corner. So be out there, let the whole world know, don't panic, and stay on course.
Wonderful. Wonderful messages from each and every one of our panel members today. I thank each and every one of you. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Chella. Thank you, Balki. Thank you, Kritika. And thank you, Venkat, for this opportunity and for sharing your perspectives and some directions, tips and suggestions to all our viewers and audiences today. I hope we've been able to impact at least a small number of people who have tuned in today. This live session is going to be available on Facebook later on. You can tune in and listen in on. Thank you, Puneet, for coordinating this, and Balki for being my co-host on this. I appreciate all your time. Good luck, and good times will follow.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Take care.
Have a good
Bye.
night.